The fact that she has this fight with Kylo Ren and is able to overpower him, is able to win the fight against him, is absolutely crazy. Come on now, come on now. Like, I watched Star Wars: The Force Awakens 10 years later, and I liked it. I was looking for a movie to watch, and I stumbled across The Force Awakens. And seeing as I previously talked about the Star Wars franchise in my previous video, I thought, you know what, let me give it a rewatch, especially considering that I actually didn't watch it for a few years now. And honestly, when I watched it, I was actually surprised at how good it was. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it was perfect, I'm not saying it was amazing. It definitely had its flaws, and there's one big one that I'm going to talk about later, but honestly, it was a solid movie. So after I watched it, I really had to think about why the sequels got so much hate. And to be fair, it was mainly the last two movies of the sequels that got a bit of hate, but let's talk about it. To understand why this movie, along with the rest of the sequels, received so much hate, you have to understand the climate in which these movies were released in. As we all know, the original trilogy was a massive success. These movies had a massive impact on pop culture, and honestly, it changed the film industry forever. 16 years later, the prequels to the original trilogy came out, and I would say that it received mixed reviews. The prequels took a shift from the beloved practical style effects and moved to the CGI, which wasn't really done too well. Not only that, but the acting was bad as well as the dialogue. With that being said, the prequels definitely had a lot of good moments, and people especially loved the last movie. Then another 10 years passed, and when the fans heard that there was going to be another trilogy, especially a sequel trilogy, there was a massive amount of anticipation. So there was an army of die-hard fans with exceedingly high expectations. So it was very unlikely that these sequels were going to receive the amount of success that the original trilogy did. And as we all know, the sequels flopped. And not only did they flop, but you could even say that it marked the end of the Star Wars franchise. So, with that being said, let's actually talk about The Force Awakens. The two main issues that people had with this movie was regarding the character Rey and the fact that this movie was very similar to the original trilogy. Like, literally, it was pretty much the same plot. Now, to be fair, I do understand the second point. I mean, it absolutely was the same plot. Like, the original trilogy, they basically tried to beat the Death Star twice. The first movie, it was the Death Star. The second movie, it was a bigger Death Star. So now, all of these years later, when The Force Awakens comes out, and then it turns out that they are fighting another Death Star, like, come on now. Like, I can understand the frustration that a lot of the fans had. So let's talk about Rey. It was around this time that there was an emergence of strong female characters, which of course sounds good at face value, but the thing is they weren't really well written. Like, these women were essentially perfect. They didn't have any character flaws, and so because of that, there was no character development. Not only that, but all of the men in these movies were either the bad guys or they were these incompetent, useless men. And so it seemed that one of the main ways that they wanted to show the strength of these women was beside weak men. And then to top it off, these movies always had some sort of political agenda that they wanted to say at all costs, especially when it didn't really relate to the movie as much. So now you have Rey, who was another strong main character, but the thing is, she was actually well written. It's very early on in the movie that we find out that Rey is good with machines. She was abandoned when she was a child, so she had to essentially grow up as a scavenger, taking apart machines and selling them for a living. So when she used these expertise, it makes sense. We don't have to be surprised because we understand that they introduced that to her already. So pretty early on in the movie, Rey and Finn meet up with Han Solo and Chewie, and we find out that they are transporting goods, including 3 very dangerous creatures. Then some people come looking for Han Solo because he owes them money. And so we have like a massive chase scene. And in the scene, those 3 monsters are released and they're obviously causing havoc. And one of these monsters actually gets Finn. And so Rey, using her expertise, she was able to shut the shutters at the exact right time to save Finn from the monsters. And this makes sense because once again, we understand that she is good with machines. We understand that she was the only one that could have done this. If the roles were reversed, Finn wouldn't have been able to do what she has done. Finn would have had to rescue her another way. And so when she excels, when she is not the damsel in distress, but when she's the one saving Finn's life, it makes sense. We understand why, because she's using an expertise that we know she has already. It's not out of place, it just makes sense. Like, I will say it outright, I genuinely think that Rey is a very well-written character. Well, at least anyways, in The Force Awakens. Obviously, the last two movies, a lot of stuff happened, but we're talking about The Force Awakens. Let me know if you want me to review the last two sequels as well. As a character, she is able to shine in a way that only she can shine. And not only that, but she also shines alongside her male counterparts. Finn, Han Solo, Poe, even Kylo Ren, like, these guys are all competent. They have their strengths and weaknesses, and so does Rey. So in the movie, once again, we find out that Rey is essentially delusional, right? She has been waiting on a planet for her parents, and everybody else is telling her, look, like, your parents are actually gone, they're not coming back. But it takes her a while to understand that. Not only that, but of course we find out that Rey has the Force and is strong with the Force. And once again, she takes a while to come to terms with that. And so we see that Rey is somebody who runs away from certain realities of her life. Now that makes sense, and it's good writing. She is not this perfect person that knows everything. No, she actually has character flaws that she does work out in this movie. Now, like I said, this movie is solid, but it could have been so much better if it wasn't for this one thing. And that is the last fight scene of the movie. The main antagonist of this movie is Kylo Ren. And we learn that literally from birth, this guy has always been strong in the Force, right? This guy literally trained with Luke Skywalker. And then when he went to the dark side, he received further training in combat and in how to use the Force. So then we have Rey, and we know for a fact that she only just awakens the Force in this movie in her mid-20s where we find her. So the fact that she has this fight with Kylo Ren and is able to overpower him, is able to win the fight against him, is absolutely crazy. That doesn't make sense. Now again, I understand Rey is the main character, but come on now, come on now, we understand that yes, she grows in the ways of the Force throughout the movie, but there's no way in a matter of days that she's able to beat somebody like Kylo Ren. There's absolutely no way. I understand that Kylo Ren literally just killed his father, so yes, he's not going to be on his A game. I understand that mentally he is conflicted. In the Force, he is conflicted. So yes, he is definitely at his weakest point. But with that being said, there is still no way that Rey could have beat him. Rey is literally a novice when it comes to the Force and when it comes to fighting with a lightsaber. So there's no way that she could have beat him, even with everything that just happened. There's one part in particular where essentially they're holding both lightsabers and they're trying to disarm one another. Like, this is not even skill, this is just pure strength. And somehow Rey is able to overpower him. Now, bearing in mind that Kylo Ren is a big guy, so there's no way that Rey should have been able to do that. There was no sign that they was using the Force or anything. It was literally physical strength against physical strength. There was no skill, no nothing. And yet Rey was somehow able to come out on top. Like, for me, it's the stuff like this that really blew me out from the movie. Like, everything up to this movie, I think it was decent. Honestly, I don't really have any notes, but it was this part that I was just like, come on now, really? For me, that was my main negative about this movie. Honestly, I think everything else was actually really good. John Boyega and Daisy Ridley did an amazing job as the main characters. I think they were perfectly cast. Also, Oscar Isaac's character Poe was a great person. I really enjoyed him. Of course, they also brought in some of the old characters from the original trilogy. And that was another thing that people said, that, you know, there was too much nostalgia bait and all of that stuff. But once again, I disagree. Han Solo wasn't just there for being their sake. Like, Han Solo was a very important part of this movie. Leia, maybe not so much. And then Mark Hamill coming back as Luke Skywalker. I mean, the movie was literally about him. Now, I do understand he was literally in the movie for like 10 seconds. But again, this is part one of a 3-part movie. So obviously he's going to be even more important in the last 2 movies. I genuinely think there was a really good balance between the old original cast and, you know, paying homage to them, but also introducing the new. Like, I think it was a very good balance between the two, and them interacting with each other. It just makes so much sense. Like, honestly, I genuinely think that every other aspect of this movie was actually really good. It was good writing, it was good dialogue, the effects were actually decent, like they weren't bad at all. It wasn't really heavily focused on CGI. There was some practical style effect which was really good. Like, generally this movie was a good movie, but it was just that one thing that really took me out of this movie. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think of this movie. Make sure you comment your thoughts on this movie, and let me know if you want me to review the other 2 movies as well. Also, make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and of course check out my other videos on the channel. Peace out.